Butch McCord should have been a major leaguer.
He would have and should have been in Major League Baseball. And I thank Butch for telling the story of what happened to all of the Negro Leaguers after the Negro League failed and Major League Baseball did not open up the floodgates. What happened to them? Well, they're Butch.
Well, he would say that he grew up on a plantation, which is about in the area of Nissan Stadium today.
The house he was at had a huge backyard and garden. He started playing ball on the garden, and other kids would come over and play with him. Baseball became a sort of a language where they could communicate because young black kids and young white kids didn't at that time coalesce.
He was a tremendous football player. TSU at the time, or Tennessee A&I, did not have a baseball team, and his coaches encouraged him to play baseball.
One of his coaches gave him the information that Robinson had broke through and told him that he needed to think about playing baseball.
I think it had to do with his athletic ability, that he could help some of the teams that he knew were based in and around Nashville. Of course, the Nashville Elite Giants, who ultimately went to Baltimore, is where he got his pro start.
Butch was known and had a reputation of being one of the best defensive players on any team.
Well, so good that he was awarded 2 Silver Gloves as the best first baseman in minor league baseball.
He had a lot of respect from the players because he was a solid defensive player.
He had 369 one year as a left-handed first baseman, which is unheard of. He became sort of a postcard for integration of the leagues. He was the first black player to ever take the field at the Diamond in Richmond, Virginia. Butch was, in some points, the perfect person to do that. Because he grew up in that East Nashville neighborhood, he was comfortable. His ability to communicate was strong.
He was a wonderful ambassador, but Butch was after Jackie Robinson, and now here comes the next group. Nobody really talks about that. The first gate was open. What truly happened after Jackie Robinson? It was not that easy to get to the major leagues. After Jackie Robinson was signed, 1947, till 1950, there were only 11 African-American players who were signed. So where did the rest of them go? Who was just as talented, like Butch McCord? Well, they got to knock around minor league baseball because the gate was not open. So there were other gates that they had to pass through.
He's one of the cornerstones of Nashville baseball. He and Henry Kimbrough and others too, they never gave up. Butch would tell some of the stories which we have read or heard about not being able to go into the bathroom with white players on an integrated team, have to eat your lunch instead of being able to go in and sit down, eat it on the bus or on the curb. I've heard those stories from him and several others that played in the Negro Leagues especially.
But eventually, all of the barriers were removed. And I think that's his legacy, to say he still loved the game and still had respect for the game and was very proud of what the game had done. Major League Baseball, and in his era, loved the talent, but they didn't love the color of his skin.
Well, Butch was a mentor, and not just for African-American community. He coached in the Tri-State League, which was a semi-pro league. He played at Shelby Park and Centennial.
He believed in fundamentals. He could develop players. He could take you wherever point you are in terms of skill and add to it.
I've never seen him not see a person who he didn't have something to say about their grip. He says, here, he hands this player a bat, show me your grip. And he says, well, no, you need to move this hand over that way and curl a little bit over there. And this fella comes up to bat. He looks over at Butch and points, and he's gesturing. The first pitch, he puts it over the left field fence, and he trots around the bases. And he keeps pointing out where Butch is sitting and holding his hand up like that to show Butch. Of course, Butch sits there passively, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Butch felt like there was so much to tell. He wanted to show you newspaper clippings and books that he had purchased. And I think he was always kind of quick to start telling stories. He would do that at our old timers meetings. He'd get started sometimes. We'd have to say, Butch, we need to go to something else here, because rightfully so, he was a worthy advocate for baseball and Negro Leagues baseball, sure.
In terms of his legacy, he did let everybody know from his experience, and his experience was everybody else's experience. I use some of his stories when I go and teach in the school system about Negro League baseball, particularly here in Nashville. I am doing what I am doing because of Butch, because he inspired me. He said, we have to tell the story, and we have to keep telling the story because the story is important to be passed on. It was Butch that told me that my father was a great player. Butch made sure I knew. And then from there, I did my research, I did my homework. I thank Butch for that, because nothing else would have come after that if I did not know that bit of information about my father.